Rutherford weather.
More clouds than sun today with a chance of thunderstorms. High of 82. 66 tonight, slight chance of thunderstorms. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 71 degrees.
SRM Concrete is the largest ready-mix producer in the country, yet is still family-owned and operated. Locally grown, nationally known, SRM delivers unmatched quality and service. You called, we haul. We're SRM Concrete.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you.
Every step of the way.
We're the Good Neighbor Network. FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro. FM 100.5 Smyrna. Audio and video streaming at WGNSradio.com. This is the Roundtable. Tennessee Association of Broadcasters Award winner for Best Local Talk Show. A look at the news, views, politics, sports, and people shaping Rutherford County.
And good morning, everybody. Welcome to your Tuesday morning edition of the Roundtable Show with Rick and Wayne. And good morning, Wayne.
Good morning, Brother Rick.
Long weekend, buddy.
Yep, wet, fortunately.
Hey, man, I loved it.
Well, I saw the one of the drought maps last night, and we're.
Did it change?
Well, I think for the better. You know, at least we were in some kind of orange rather than red, which is really good. So, of course, you know me, I'm itching to get on the water in the lake, and but Priest is so narrow and shallow. You know, I want to protect my prop.
I understand. So, I don't think Nice's Mill, even with the rain, could have got another car in it this weekend. That little bitty. What I used to say is the cornmeal place is absolutely packed full of people. Yeah. But I knew it was going to rain, though. Spring fling, we always get rain.
Well, you know, this kind of rain you always expect in April. So, you know, hey, just happy to get it.
Amen, buddy.
Hopefully next weekend, be motoring out to a cove, anchoring, and hanging out and watching the grandchildren all jump off the boat and climb on the boat, jump off the boat, climb on, you know, just redundancy. So, but you got a lot to do in your shop this weekend.
Yeah, I got a lot done in there. It was a good place to be indoors, you know. Yep. And we went Hop Springs Saturday night. I went to the Hoss Armors, Tennessee. We had Cheryl and Kevin come in and talk to us about, and we ended up going out there and had an absolute blast. And it coming downpour right at the end. It rained pretty hard before it happened, and then after, which it was all indoors.
I'm tickled that it was successful. We were unable to get there, but pleased that you made it. So you represented the show.
That's right. We had a good time.
So, Rick, this morning it's our pleasure to have the new head football coach at Stewarts Creek High School with us, Stephen Rees. And Coach Rees, do you go by Steve or do you go by Stephen?
Stephen. I'm a junior, so Dad goes by Steve. I go by Stephen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, you almost have to, I guess.
Got to, yeah.
So,
no
hey, welcome to our show, and thank you for being with us this morning. Why don't you tell our audience a little bit about your journey, where you came from, and how you got to be head coach at Stewarts Creek High School?
Yeah. So most recently, I was at Brentwood Academy for the last 2 years. I went there when Paul Wade took the job. So that was a absolutely incredible experience. Learned a ton from him, and right before that, I was with Coach Hester at Ravenwood. So, man, I've had a lot of really cool stops and worked for a lot of legendary coaches, and those are my two most recent ones, and both of them couldn't be any more different in terms of personality, and both of them have had the same kind of results. So it's been really cool working for two guys of that stature who just were both uniquely them. They were genuine to the kind of people they were, and that's how you get buy-in, in my opinion, is you're going to be genuine to who you are. So I was fortunate to work for both of those guys.
So you grew up in Brentwood?
Yes, sir. Yeah, went to Brentwood High School, graduated in '06. So really been in the area for pretty much my entire life. We actually moved to Nashville when I was in 4th grade. My dad is a computer dork. He worked for the Houston Oilers at the time, and so when the team moved here to Nashville, we moved with them. So that brought us here. Yeah.
That's Houston Oilers. That's
Houston Oilers, man. Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
they're back with the baby blue colors, man. I love it. So,
yeah. So with you, like you said, you've come from two really strong programs.
Mm-hmm.
How do you set the culture now? It's yours now. It's your baby. It's no laying. You can't give the title to somebody else. It's yours.
Yeah.
How are you setting the culture with the new kids coming in?
Man, it's trying to let people work and use their skills and talents, and that goes for the seniors on the team as well. One thing I was really fortunate to be a part of was coaches that allowed other people to work and be themselves and use their talents and skills. And I realized very quickly on the job that it could be a little bit overwhelming. So to sit there and try to do all of it myself is just insane. So I'm gonna need to bring in as many people as I can. We've brought in an incredible staff, and credit to the administration at Stewarts Creek. I think on just the defensive side alone, I think we have 6 former coordinators just on the defensive staff, and then several former coordinators on the offensive staff. And so the more guys like that you're bringing in that are great with relationships with kids, they're focused on things outside of football, but at the same time really, really good coaches themselves. That to me is my priority as a coach, and that's how I set the culture is how many other men can I bring alongside of me to walk that out? Because if I'm doing it myself, it's either going to be a long process or it's not going to work out.
I understand completely. Rutherford County's a unique situation because of our high schools that we have, and we have so much growth here. 77 people move in a day, and Creek is like one of the hottest to me. That west side Smyrna, that's one of the hottest growing areas. And I think every year it seems like the dichotomy of that whole area over there is changing. So you're in a hotbed of that. The redistricting, I think they're looking at again in another year. I know with you guys in high school programs, that affects y'all so greatly. Are you? I guess you're just getting your feet wet. You're not having to live through that yet. But what the kids coming in, are they a lot of new guys that haven't been with the program, or have you got a pretty good stake of young men coming back?
We have a pretty good group coming back. It's a smaller senior class. I feel really, really good about like the top end of that class. Not a lot of depth just in terms of numbers, but the quality of that class is really, really, really high. We have a rising junior class that has a ton of linemen in it. We don't have any of the 6'6", 300 kids, but we have a lot of the 6'1", 250 kids, and we're a movement-based defense, and so those are the kind of kids we look for, and we're going to be an up-tempo offense, and so that kind of lends itself more to those smaller, quicker, more athletic linemen. So we got a great group of kids that are already in the building. We've had a few kids that have come out. We've had a few basketball kids that are giving it a shot, and those kids just from an athletic standpoint are ridiculously impressive. So we just got to get them up to speed with some of the football stuff. So, we feel like we're in a really good spot with the kids in the program. From what we've seen of the rising freshman class and just what we saw at the freshman orientation that we had in March, I believe, there's some good looking kids coming up in that group. So we feel like we're in a really good spot just in terms of bodies in the building. We're just trying to continue to recruit our own hallways. We probably have 5 or 6 kids that have come back out or are trying it for the first time that we think may be potential starters for us. And at a school our size, I'm sure there's more in the building that we just haven't made connections with. And so we're going to continue to kind of, be in the lunchroom, recruit those kids that ain't out, and see how many of those we can get on the team.
The thing that I've always been, maybe not perplexed, but I'm going, how does this work when you were just talking about there's 6 assistants on both sides of the ball, new assistants on both sides of the ball. How does that, because football coaches are not traditionally known to teach biology and algebra and some of your higher courses. How do you make bringing? I'm not sure if they're all 12 new faces, but how do you bring them into your school? That's got to be a real chess match, I would think.
So this is one of the big reasons I took the job. Is it's not easy to bring in a lot of coaches and plug them in, and just in terms of all the things that administration has to juggle with classes and so on and so on. The one thing I knew about Dr. Harrell, who's our principal from the time I was there, he is very pro athletics, and he does a great job of getting people into the building that are needed in terms of the coaching side. Now, in the same breath, I'm not going to bring anyone to him that is incapable of teaching within the classroom. I feel like if you're a good coach, you should be a good teacher as long as you're putting effort into it. And so I'm making sure that we're bringing in people that understand we do have a job during the day, in terms of their academic class, and he does a great job of making sure that the people I bring to him, he's able to plug and play. So not an easy job by any means. I would say he's one of the best in the state in terms of accommodating new people into the building, and he's done an incredible job. And it was just certainly a huge reason why the job was so interesting to me, and why I eventually came to the table and spoke with him, just because I knew he would help me get a really good staff into the building.
Talk about yourself a little bit. I mean, what's your background? Did you play ball? I think you said you grew up in the Brentwood area once y'all moved here. So football was your sport? Or
So football was my sport. My buddies convinced me at the end of my high school career to play a little rugby too. So we had a lot of football rugby guys.
Your ear survived.
Man, listen, it was
no brain damage.
No brain damage. And so I'll tell you what it does do is if we had a program at Creek, I would love for our guys to do it. I mean, when you're having to make 15 to 20 open field tackles every game, there's no better training for football, in my opinion, than rugby. And so I would say that's why our program at Brentwood was so good for a time. Was we had so many of us playing rugby as well, and obviously we had Coach Crawford there as well. So we had a lot of things going for us. So yeah, I played football and rugby growing up. Brentwood High School graduate. I went to college and played rugby for a little bit there, and missed football a lot. So I actually started coaching my junior year of college. So first job took a job at Knoxville Catholic, and then worked for Gary Rankin at Alcoa my last few years at college. So
wow.
It was a good experience, man.
Yeah, Rutherford connection.
Yeah. So
we always said that Coach Rankin was the best recruiter in the state of Tennessee.
Hey, he's as good as it gets.
Well, he was.
As good as it gets. So I learned a lot from him. So fortunate to have played for Coach Crawford, who coached under him for a long time, and then fortunate I had to beg for that job. When I initially went out for the job, he wouldn't hire me. He said the staff was full, and so I just kept showing up to spring practice. And he's like, "Who's this weird dude?" I was just off on the sideline the entire time watching practice. And so eventually, the defensive coordinator at the time, Brian Nix, eventually just in kind of pity, I guess, allowed me to be on the staff, and so it ended up being a really good experience. But he made me beg a little bit for sure.
What about siblings? Athletic siblings?
Man, me and my brother couldn't be any different. He's a philosophy major, so he was an athlete growing up. He went the wrestling route, so he still lives in the area. He's got 5 wonderful children out in Columbia, but he's a philosophical guy. So we're a little bit different. So
sounds like it.
So where are you going this next year? Summer's coming on. You're obviously got your kids started now.
Yeah.
Are you setting the bar right now in the weight room? I think that's what you...
Yeah, so that really started actually today for us this morning. So we were able to go through a spring ball, which was a little bit chaotic. Our offensive coordinator is coming from Westview in Martin, Tennessee, and then there was a few other of us that were driving from different places, and then we still had about 5 guys that were currently in the building. So we were able to put together a spring ball, had our 10 practices in our spring game versus Independence, which is great. One of the new coaches we're bringing on staff, Ryan Bridges from Battle Creek, he's serving as our lead strength coach. So that process started this morning with a few things being tweaked and a little things different from what they were doing in the past. And so, man, I'm just excited for the coaches to all be in the building, us to actually get to sit around a table and meet and get a little bit more organized. It was a little bit chaotic. We're walking out to practice, and our offensive coordinator was driving from Martin, and he's getting out of the car basically as practice is starting. And the kids did an incredible job with it. The staff did an incredible job given the circumstances. But it's going to be nice this summer to really settle in with the staff, be able to spend some time together and get a little bit more organized and be a little bit more detailed in some of the stuff we're doing. And so, like you said, that starts right now. So we're excited for a chance to kind of slow down a little bit, and then also excited for an opportunity to really get this thing going.
How many kids do you have?
Sophomore through senior, we have about 70 right now, and then we're expecting 35 in the freshman class, so we won't see them until June the 1st, next Monday. So, we got a relatively decent sized group, and again, that junior group's probably our biggest one.
I forget who your feeder schools, your middles are.
Rock Springs, Stewarts Creek, and then the new middle school, Poplar Hill.
Poplar Hill.
Yeah,
okay.
That'll be, and I think Rocky Fork might have some, but those are the 3 main ones in terms of Rock Springs, Stewarts Creek, and Poplar.
Okay.
Are you able to do much with them, like those feeder schools? Because I know back in the day when Smyrna was smaller, so you had, actually before Stewarts Creek even, because you had Smyrna Middle and it kind of fed the Smyrna High kids. And I know having a daughter that was cheering, that I would see a lot of the Smyrna High coaches over there watching those middle school games, because that's your future coming right there.
Yep.
Are you able to do that a lot? I guess you're a new guy here, so you really hadn't had that chance. Is that something you look forward to, or something you guys do?
I've already met, and I'm actually scheduled to meet with Stewarts Creek's middles coach today. Really, it's making connections with those coaches. I mean, we know the reality around high school football right now with the recruiting, the one-time transfer, all that. We want to make sure that we are present and those kids know who we are. So we feel like the first way to do that is develop relationships with the coaches in our feeder program. When we're hosting youth camps, try to get those kids over to us. And again, for us, it's just about keeping the kids that are zoned for us with us. And we know that a lot of schools in the area, a lot of private schools, whatever, everyone kind of gets their say. We want to make sure those kids know who we are. We want to make sure those kids know what our program is about. So as things come up and opportunities are presented, they know exactly what we're about, and that we at least have a rapport with those kids. And so, our first action for that is going to be trying to develop relationships with some of those middle school coaches. And so we've already started that process. It's been good. We're hoping this summer, as we have camps, that those coaches are having those kids and pushing those kids to come out and just be at our camp, and if for nothing else, just to be around the staff and see how we are and see what kind of culture our program's going to have, so that those kids can be excited about playing football at Creek here in the near future.
The coach at Maryville years ago, and I'm having a senior moment trying to remember his name, but he...
Quarles?
Yes, yeah. I thought he was one of the best coaches ever. Mm-hmm. Right up there with Coach Rankin. And, my son played football at Smyrna, and early in his school career, and a kid that he had played recreational ball and freshman ball, they transferred to Maryville. Mm-hmm. His dad, his job took him to Maryville, and that program, they taught the same system, all the way through from middle school to junior varsity to varsity. So by the time the kid got to high school, they'd already been immersed in his coaching philosophy and his program set up. And I got to think that proved successful for him.
Well, and I was actually just having a conversation with Derek Potter, who's our youth league president for Stewarts Creek, and we were talking about the same exact thing in terms of let's meet, let's get a scaled down version of what y'all are doing offensively and defensively, so we can start incorporating this with the youth league, because you're 100% right, and I don't think that's a overnight fix, but I think over time we can get them speaking the same language that we are from a varsity level. And I know there's going to be different, the game is from a youth league perspective is going to look drastically different than what it's going to look like for high school. But I think that we can do enough in terms of some of the baseline scheme and baseline technique. Like by the time they get up to us, they've been hearing this stuff for 6, 7, 8 years, and I think that'd be a huge
terminology is a big deal on the football field. I know when I went from high school to college, it was what we did at Smyrna and what we did at MTSU was different as night and day, and I really didn't learn how to block effectively until I got to MTSU, and of course you got and that's what they get paid to do as the coach, so you expect them to be good at their craft.
And that's we just want to be a help to those guys. Those guys that are coaching 8U ball, dude, they're doing the Lord's work. I mean, the fact that they can get out there and keep those kids engaged for a few hours. Coaching an 8-year-old is totally different than coaching so there's a lot of stuff we can learn from those guys, just in terms of how to keep communication concise, how to keep, we talk about all the time as a varsity staff is when we're correcting a kid, I don't need a dissertation. Like if it takes a full paragraph for you to correct a kid on what he did, then our teaching method's off. Like we need to make this short and concise and to the point, and the kid needs to understand what our coaching cues are, so that when we give them a 1 or 2 word correction, they know exactly what we're talking about. And honestly, the youth league guys probably do that better than us, because that kid's going to start zoning out after a certain number of words, and so there's a lot we can learn from those guys, and I feel like there's some ways that we can help them out as well. Again, we're doing this essentially full time, and so whatever things we've picked up along the way, if we could pass that down to those guys and they utilize it, great. And whatever they've kind of picked up along the way, we'd love to hear from them too.
I think it's great you said that. I went to a Titans practice one day. I get through connections. I was able to get in and get over on the sidelines and watch. It was during the Mike Vrabel years, and I've been to other stuff, and I've watched the coaches just kind of walk around, arms crossed, watching everything. Mike Vrabel sweated as hard as those guys out there, because he was involved, and they said he was teaching. He was a really, everybody said everybody loved to play for him, because he would chew your tail when you needed your chew, but most of the time it wasn't a chewing, it was an instructional thing that he got in there and physically got with you. And if you were a DB, or if you were a linebacker, or if you're a lineman, or even on the offensive side, he would physically get out there. And, he came to work, and we saw it, and he came over and spoke to us afterwards, and he was down in water left and right. I mean, he had a big jug of water, and he was going to town, but he was just as, he'd worked out as hard as his teammates, which I think he could still probably suit up at that point. It was pretty, but I know what you mean by that, because obviously, like Wayne and I, we played all the way through, and I had, you always got that one coach that was instrumental in your life and made changes in you, and you've seen the turn. And I think it was my high school baseball coach that made that turn for me, and I don't know where Wayne is with that, but you are going to be looked up or put on a pedestal the rest of your life. Well,
that's what we want to make sure that, like you said, it's good to have energy and it's good to get after someone, but it better be corrective. You hear it all the time in the stands, and I've been guilty of saying this on the field too. When you scream at a kid just to catch the ball, make a tackle, whatever it may be. Man, we want to make sure that we're actually giving something corrective for the kid and not just screaming out observations. Yeah. And those are the kids that ultimately, if they see that they're getting correct, kids want to get better. They're not out there for a 2-3 hour practice because they want to get worse. Now there might be times they need a little extra motivation, but kids want to get better. They want to get better at their craft, and a lot of them have goals of playing at the next level. And so if you have that energy level and you're bringing some correction with it, the kids will respond to that. You know, what they won't respond to is you just getting after them and feel like they're not getting anything substantial to really improve upon. And so we try to mimic that. It's not always done, but that's something we strive after for each practice.
I understand completely. You're listening to the new Stewarts Creek High School football coach, Stephen Rees, and we're going to take our first break. Be right back with you in just a minute.
When it comes to your child's health,
You want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you
every step of the way.
What's the location of your emergency? I think my kid OD'd.
Hi, I'm Craig Harris, the County Commissioner of Rutherford County. One of the reasons I ran for office is because I wanted to bring awareness to the opioid epidemic that's impacting our county. To stop providing this epidemic with people as we educate. We have a lot to do, and we have to come together as a community because this problem's not going away.
Hey folks, it's Chip Walters from Exit Realty Bob Lamb & Associates, helping Middle Tennessee make smart moves in a fast-moving market. Whether you're buying, selling, or just exploring your options, you deserve someone who knows this community and treats your goals like their own. From first-timers to long-time homeowners, I'm here to guide you with clarity, confidence, and a steady hand. When you're ready to make the next move, start with someone you trust. Visit ChooseChip.net and let's make your 2026 move the right move.
Are you tired of feeling like just another number with your insurance provider? At Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, Agent Rick Hall prides himself on offering personalized service that puts you first. Every client's needs are unique. From personal home and auto coverage to tailored business insurance, Rick Hall's got you covered. Rick Hall at Rayburn Insurance Agency in Smyrna, where you're more than just a policy number. You're a neighbor.
This is Good Neighbor Events with Bart Walker. Brought to you by AmeriCare Pest Control and the law offices of John Day.
This is a paid legal ad.
You've probably heard it a million times. If you're injured, call a lawyer. And you probably haven't because you don't know how much it will cost, how long it will take, or even if you have a case. At the law offices of John Day, we provide a free initial consultation because we understand that folks don't want to pay a lawyer only to find out they don't have a case. If you think we can help, we do so on a contingency basis, which means we only get paid if you do. Seriously injured? Call me, John Day.
Now, Good Neighbor Events. Here's Bart Walker.
Hey, if you love vintage baseball, there are two big games this Saturday at Oakland's Park, next to Oakland's Mansion. At noon, the Cumberland Club of Nashville takes on Franklin's Farriers. And then at 2 o'clock this coming Saturday afternoon, our hometown team, the Stones River Scouts, batted out with the Franklin Farriers. Oh, and the hot dog guy will be there too. That's vintage baseball. This coming Saturday, starting at noon at Oakland's Park, right next to Oakland's Mansion. And speaking of Oakland's Mansion, this Saturday night brings the Spring Party, 6:30 at Oakland's Mansion. Some of the best fried chicken and catfish you ever had, plus summer cocktails, handcrafted by Pritchard's Distillery. Don't miss the Spring Party, 6:30 this Saturday night, outside at Oakland's Mansion. and the Red Cross is still critically low on blood. Please give the gift of life. Phone the Red Cross at 800-RED-CROSS and make an appointment to give blood at a time that fits your schedule. Those are WGNS Good Neighbor events.
Rutherford weather.
More clouds than sun today with a chance of thunderstorms. High of 82. 66 tonight, slight chance of thunderstorms. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki on News Radio WGNS. Currently, it's 73 degrees.
WGNS is powered by Middle Tennessee Electric, and they want to make sure you're in the loop. Head over to MTE.com to update your contact info so you can get those timely alerts on outages, billing, and more. That's MTE.com.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
And welcome back to the second segment of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne. And it's been our pleasure to have the new head coach of Stewarts Creek High School, football coach that is, Stephen Rees. And Coach, again, great to have you, and thank you for being with us. Let's talk about name, image, and likeness, how that seems to have filtered or permeated into high school football as well.
Yeah, man, I don't even know if, from a college standpoint, they really exactly know what it is in terms of my view of it. From a college standpoint, it just seems like pay for play.
Right.
And I don't think that was ever the intention of it. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens as that kind of trickles down into our ranks of what exactly does that become. And I think the reality is, though, is for the vast majority of players, it won't play a role at all.
Is it going to be more of a private school issue than you think it would be public?
That would be my opinion, yeah. And especially when you see just more of the higher end players are typically in the private school ranks because those are the ones that they're trying to attract to the schools. I mean, I think it would be just as prevalent in Rutherford County, given the quality of the, I think if you have a 5-star athlete, you have a 5-star athlete, and that would be relevant to that individual, whether they're at Stewarts Creek or whether they're at Brentwood Academy. But I think for the vast majority of players, the whole idea of NIL just would be not a reality for a lot of them. I don't see where the payoff would be for a really good high school player in terms of, what company would seem to benefit off of, that individual. Now, if you're talking to someone who's a 5-star receiver going to UT, I could see that becoming a big deal for that person. But it'll be interesting to see what it comes into, just because I feel like from a college football perspective, the whole NIL thing hasn't really been what it was chalked up to be.
How does the transfer rule with TSSAA for athletics, how does that work now?
My understanding is going to be a one-time transfer. Now, there would still be stipulations with it, like I think the coaching link rule is still in play. So, for example, I don't think, kids from BA couldn't transfer to Stewarts Creek even if they moved because of the coaching link of me being there the last year. So, I don't know how much it really changes. I guess it'll change some. I feel like a lot of it is more, this stuff's always been going on. I feel like it's just more publicized now than what it was 15 years ago. But I mean, we've seen transfers every year before this rule, came into place. So I don't know how much it changes in reality. I just think it's just something that gets more attention now than it used to.
Good.
I think you nailed it on the head, because, and it's interesting every year how it's going to come up, how it's going to evolve, because it seems like the NCAA doesn't want to touch the NIL stuff because it was asked for so long, and now they gave it, but then every time they try to make a ruling on something, they're getting sued, so they're spending all their money in courtrooms and not on the field, and they feel like their concentration needs to be towards the field. And even at the high school level, I mean, last year Webb had a private school football program, but some kids ended up higher ranking kids ends up leaving that program, and it totally shut that program down.
Yeah.
And it seems like we're seeing more and more high schools are getting put on probation and things like that because they're pushing the envelope of where they want to be. But then again, I was talking with I've got a cousin in Florida, and they got a son that's pretty good. He's a 10-year-old, believe it or not, 10 in Florida, and he's pretty dang good. You know, they travel all over, and he looks like Mr. T with a number of rings and stuff he's got from playing. But, you know, the whole travel ball to this travel ball team now that is pulling people in from a 100-mile radius, and these kids are all coming in, and they'll meet somewhere on a Saturday, and they've never seen each other before. Yeah. But they've recruited to position for that weekend for this club team is what they got it, and they do this travel ball, and it's, you know, I grew up in rec ball and absolutely loved it with my buddies and playing cup ball beforehand and after, and, you know, suicide drinks, and these kids are not getting that experience whatsoever.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing that would be lost in all of this. If a kid feels like there's a better situation somewhere else, you know, I don't have enough time to worry about all that, and I don't you know, from a coaching standpoint, that's probably more than any of us can bear to deal with in terms of you know, constantly having to monitor the kids that are zoned for you, whatever. What I feel like is lost in all of it is what you just talked about, the idea of being within a community, the kids that you grow up playing ball with. I got 3 kids that'll be in the elementary school at Stewarts Creek next year, and then after next year there'll be 4. And that was one of the biggest draws for me coming to Creek was the kids that my son plays with in the neighborhood. From you know, he's basically been here since he was 3 or 4. The kids that he's going to play youth ball with the next 2-3 years, that he'll play middle school ball with in 2 years, are the guys that he'll play high school ball with. Like there's no replacing that. You know, 90% of my groomsmen were guys that I played high school ball with, and you know, we all kind of still live in the area, and we you know, we probably don't do a great job of keeping in touch, but the times we do see each other, it's as if we had never been apart. And that's what I feel like is tough, and what a lot of kids are missing out on now is just that idea of growing up in a community, playing ball with someone for 12 years and developing lifelong relationships. And you know, that was a big draw for me coming back to Creek, and there's still, you know, the vast majority of kids are going to get that experience because they stay where they're at. But there are some kids that potentially can miss out on that if they're constantly looking for greener grass.
Well, the other side of that coin is that if you live in Rutherford County during that 13 years of public school, you have a chance, maybe not opportunity, but you have a chance of being rezoned more than once. My children, I think, 4 different zonings, and they just recently rezoned the entire county. So you know, as we grow, like Rick said, what did you say, 7 people a day?
77 a day.
I mean, you can live within spitting distance of a particular school, but because of rezoning and the things that go into that, you know, social, economic, distance, ethnicity, you know, all those things figure into it. And a child, you know, you may get a really good athlete, but that really good athlete could be rezoned at some point in time. So that's the difficulty.
Yeah, and that's where, you know, we want to try to develop great relationships with the middle school and the youth league, and ultimately, though, it's going to come down to, you know, when those kids walk in the building as freshmen, just making sure that the vast majority of our attention is spent on the kids that are in the building. And we this is something we talk about a lot too as a staff. It's probably my pet peeve as a coach in terms of the idea of you get in a staff room and you start complaining about the kids you have, whether it's these kids aren't tough, these kids aren't talented enough, whatever. It's whether that may be true or not, those kids are our kids. And so it's our job as coaches to maximize the kids that are on the team and to win as many ball games as we possibly can. Sitting around there and complaining about, you know, lack of talent or whatever it may be, or this kid went to another school, or this kid's not playing anymore because he's basketball only. It's like, we don't have time for that. Let's be productive with the kids that have chosen to come out each and every day. Because like you said, there's so many intangibles for who's going to end up, at your school and on your roster. Because my neighborhood is right across from Stewarts Creek, and they almost rezoned us for a different elementary school this past year. And it was like, we're going to drive 4 miles a different direction as opposed to going right across the street.
Well, you would have been blessed to, because you're an employee of the system, you would have been able to.
We could have.
But it goes back to what you said earlier. Here he's playing in the neighborhood with all of his buddies, and then it's going to split them. And that's what's terrible.
Yeah.
One of the most important things I think you have said during our time together this morning is that you recruit in the hallways and the cafeterias. In my time in junior high and high school ball, I just never felt like, as much as I respect those coaches, I never thought they did as good a job of recruiting in the hallways as they could have. That would have made the program better.
Well, an individual I worked under, his name's Kevin Smith. He did not play football till his senior year of high school. He ended up playing at UT Martin and then Harding, the Division II Arkansas school. He was a basketball only guy, and they got him out at Brentwood his senior year, and he was really one of the first groups that had like a successful. Brentwood High was a pretty terrible program, and his class was kind of the one that flipped that whole narrative. And because a lot of those guys, they recruited from the basketball program, and they finally got them out their junior and senior year, and they had some success. So football is one of the few sports that if you've never dribbled a basketball or played soccer or hit a baseball, like you can't come out your junior year and be successful. You just can't. Football is the one sport that even if you don't like contact, if you're a guy that doesn't want to tackle, well, if you're a 6'2" basketball kid that can run and has some ball skills, like we could probably find some use for you on the football field, even if you've never played before. And so there's just, at a school our size, there's going to be a lot of kids that fell through the cracks or quit for one reason or the other, and football's, it's a time demand on kids, and so having to circle around and convince someone to come out, it's like, that's not bending the knee to me. It's if we got to convince a kid to come out, and I've never seen a kid come out and then say I didn't enjoy it ultimately. So it's just convincing those kids to give it a try, and we've had a lot of success with those kind of kids.
Your school is population's over 2,000?
Yeah, it's over 2,000.
That makes your job a little bit easier to have that many bodies to choose from.
It helps. So I would say most of the other Rutherford County schools are probably sitting around the same mark. But
they are.
It does, some of these smaller 1A, 2A, 3A schools, you're pretty much going to know every male within the school, and there might not be a lot of kids that fall through the crack because everyone's a lot more visible. At a school our size, there's been a few times I've been in the cafeteria and some kid walks by, I'm like, who is that? I've never seen him before, and he'll be some kid who's walking around, he's like 6'6", and it's like, who's that kid? And so I think as present as we could be, just to find those kids, the better.
Have you met Chris Bessinger yet?
Yeah.
So I think he'd be a good
program
one.
Over there.
I've learned pretty quickly. I got a buddy that's son's he's a baseball player, and he hit 28 home runs this year with his JUCO school, and they fired his coach at the end of the season. They had some really good ball players. One's gone, I think, committed to Ohio State now, and a couple others have gone to Division I, and he really wanted to go back to that program. He just that kid in like 2 days had about 5,000 new followers because of social media.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like Chris would be a big asset to a program these days with the way. But he was basically, there's a service, and they filmed every at-bat he did, and they put a thing together for him. And, he's going to go to Columbia State this next year, which was number 2 in the JUCO division. But I think Chris would be a good contact.
We have already, so I've already met with him. They have formed, I want to say it's an 8-person football only media team that'll be, and I had no stipulations. I'm like, listen, man, I don't know anything about this stuff. I got Twitter, that's about it. So whatever benefits his TV program, that could also benefit us. I said, I'm not going to tell your kids what they need to do. It's whatever they want to do. So I have no idea in terms of exactly what capacity they'll be helping us, but they're going to be out there. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's something important for us. I could care less for all the highlight videos and 30-second promos, all that other stuff, but I do know it's important. I don't need it for me, but if it gets our program out there and gets us some good publicity, I'd be insane not to use it, especially with the program as high quality as theirs. It's if the coaching staff is having to put together promos and edit and all that, then we don't have time for that. But when you got a program that's putting out as high quality stuff as they are, we'd be insane not to use them.
Amen. Good program. All right, we're going to take our second break real quick here. Listen to the new head football coach, Stephen Rees, with Stewarts Creek High School. We'll be right back with you in just a minute.
When it comes to your child's health,
you want care that's close, convenient,
and centered around the needs of your family.
At MMC Pediatrics, we're more than just doctors.
We're partners in your parenting journey.
Here for every growth spurt,
for every boo-boo,
every fever, and every flu.
Our team approach means that your child always sees someone that knows them.
We are MMC Pediatrics.
We are right beside you
every step of the way.
First Shot transforms Rutherford County youth. Coach Andy Herzer leads dynamic basketball camps and clinics, building skills and character since 2003. Kids dive into exciting STEM projects, sparking creativity through hands-on coding, art, and dance. They elevate their mind, spirit, and body in summer and winter programs. Visit FirstShotTN.org today to learn more. First Shot, where kids gain, elevate, and develop.
I'll be right there.
It takes all of us to power a community, both in plain sight and behind the scenes. Middle Tennessee Electric, bringing good energy.
You've probably never heard of Lancaster, Tennessee. It's where I grew up on our family's farm.
Now tell them the whole story, John.
That's Chelsea, my wife. And what she means is I'm the 8th generation to grow up on our farm in Smith County.
And our boys make generation number 9.
I grew crops on this land, and I grew 2 great businesses.
Now John's growing a movement in his campaign for governor.
Tennessee needs a governor with CEO experience, someone tough like Trump.
Even President Trump tells people John is fantastic, and he really is.
President Trump makes tough decisions. That's what CEOs do, and it's what I'll do as governor. With our cities booming and people moving into our state like crazy, our governor will have to make tough decisions to keep Tennessee conservative.
A CEO who's tough like Trump. Yep, that's what we need, even if I am a little biased.
I'm John Rose. I'm asking for your support.
Pretty good for a farm boy, isn't it? Paid for by John Rose for governor.
This is the Roundtable from News Radio WGNS on FM 101.9 and AM 1450 Murfreesboro, FM 100.5 Smyrna. Listen and watch at WGNSradio.com.
And welcome back to the third and final session of Tuesday Mornings with Rick and Wayne, and we've had a blast this morning with the new head football coach at Stewarts Creek High School, Coach Stephen Rees. And Coach, let's talk about family support.
Yeah.
Being a coach, you're out of the house because your job is to teach and coach football, so it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah. man, she's been incredible with it. So, and I'm fortunate because I've seen where that dynamic doesn't necessarily play out the way mine has. I'm not saying that's often, but you know, I've seen some other coaches around where the wives are texting them at a certain time, like, hey, when you getting home? And it's like, man, we you know, they're not even out of practice yet. And so she does incredible with managing the household while I'm gone, and I got 4 kids at home, and so she's got a lot on her plate, especially in the fall with me being gone. But you know, she realizes that this thing's bigger than football for me. You know, we view this as a, you know, a ministry opportunity. We view this as an opportunity to develop kids in the community and send them out and play some small role in their life. And so I think the fact that she trusts that we're actually doing that within the program gives her a little bit more patience with some of my hours. But man, there's nothing cooler than win or lose when a game is over, walking over in her direction, and all my kids are over there running towards you. They don't even have a clue what the score was. You know, they think they think the same thing about me before the game as they do after, regardless of the result. And she looks like she just got out of a war zone a little bit in terms of trying to make sure that the kids aren't running on the field and whatever else. But she's incredibly supportive, so I'm very lucky.
Do you have any family in the area to give her a hand? Yeah.
So her parents still live in the area. My mom still lives in the area, so they're a huge help. They're usually at the games as well. So it's a big family event. So it's been a staple in the family. I know not everyone is blessed to have the entire family out to games on Friday nights, but I'm fortunate to have them.
We're drawing the close here. Is there something we haven't brought up that you really want to talk about? I mean, obviously you're coming into your summer thing, and then the fall. Is anything new coming to? New uniforms, anything coming to you guys?
We got new uniforms. So
I talked about last year. That's all I want.
Yeah, we got new whites coming in, so we're excited about those, man. Really, this is what I think the kids are most excited about, and this is what I'm excited about. The kids are really excited about being more of a spread type offense, throwing the ball around a little bit.
I was going to ask you about that a little bit.
And so, you know, I would say that was the thing that got the kids most excited. And listen, I mean, Stewarts Creek's had some really, really good seasons recently. It's just a philosophical difference from the current staff to the previous staff. But you know, the kids want to be out there and be in space and throw the ball around and spread it out and make defenses cover the entire width of the field. And so that's been the most common talked about thing amongst our kids has been that.
Do you have an experienced quarterback?
So RC's coming back. He was the quarterback last year. The starter last year got hurt, and so he ended up stepping in. He would probably tell you that he was primarily a receiver DB, but man, he had a really good spring for us. Even the offensive coordinator coming in is, you know, we're sitting there thinking like, man, we got this kid who's really a receiver who's playing quarterback for us, and man, he took control and he did a great job for us offensively. And so it was one of those things. We got to the end of the spring, and that was one of the things we realized is, man, I think we got a quarterback. We don't have a kid masquerading as a quarterback. I think we got a true field general. So we're really, really excited about him.
Do you do the 7-on-7 thing?
We won't do any of the tournaments. You know, we have a lot of 7-on-7 schedules with individual teams. We're going against Brentwood, we're going against Nolensville, Mount Juliet, Ravenwood. You know, we've done the tournaments in the past. What that kind of turns into, in my opinion, is like you're stuck out there defending empty sets for 40 straight snaps, and then you get into the regular season and you realize you see empty 15 times all year. So we just didn't feel like there's a lot of carryover from the tournaments. But we feel like with some of the teams that we've got scheduled that we can get real work and stuff that we're going to do during the regular season and see during the regular season. So we got about 5 or 6 of those scheduled this summer.
coach coming from Martin, I guess he had Ty Simpson go through his program. Is that right?
He went there right after him.
Gotcha.
So he had the younger brother. He got there right after Ty. So he can't claim that or put that on his resume. So he's going to have to develop RC
and everything.
Exact offense. Yeah, same offense.
Yeah.
So a lot of RPO, a lot of screen. Inside zone and counter are going to be the two primary runs, and we're still going to be a heavy run the ball team. But we'll just be doing it out of less 12 personnel sets.
So as far as the defensive scheme, is that kind of a secret that you hold until you get into scrimmages, or what particular?
So we base out of what everyone calls the East Coast 3-4. So Texas Tech and Tulane and the new guy that just got hired at Florida, I just forgot his name. They've kind of been running this system for a while. It comes from Wofford in like the early 2000s, so it's a movement-based 3-4. So that's really primarily what we base out of. We've added and pulled a few things from other programs, but we'll primarily base out of that Wofford stuff that Coach Crawford was running for a long time at Brentwood, still runs at Christian Brothers.
I would think your 3 down would have to be pretty good size to keep the lineman off of your.
So we're not like a 2-gap 3-4, so we're movement based. So really we are moving into a 4 down front every snap, essentially.
Okay.
So we're able to use some smaller defensive linemen, which it's really hard to be at a program and just constantly hope that you have the 6'3", 300-pound kids across the board at D-line. We realized that most of the times we're not going to have those kind of kids. And so we really wanted to do something defensively that we felt like we could do year in and year out, regardless of the size of the kids. And so this is something that we kind of fell in love with, and we've been running it for a while. So
tell you what, a quick kid is hard to block. And I don't mean just ramped up speed. I mean just who has that first step.
Yeah, and we've had a ton. Our best defensive lineman last year. Shout out to Brody Belleville. He's a 5'10". He'll probably say he's 5'11", but he ain't. He's a 5'10".
He's a guy.
They sell those shoes now. Those shoes you can get
maybe
2 or 3 inches.
But dude, he was 5'10", 190, finished second in the state in wrestling. But dude, he was our best defensive lineman last year. Caused all sorts of problems, and this is against the lines that we were seeing in the AAA level in the private schools. A lot of those lines are 6'6", 300 across the board. And he was an all-state defensive lineman for us. Now, granted, like super talented. It had nothing to do with just simply the scheme or anything like that. Incredibly talented kid, but if we were doing some things different defensively, you probably wouldn't be able to see his skill set. So those are the kind of kids we look for, and we have a lot of success with those kind of kids.
How many are you going to come up with a spread offense? Because that seems like to me that we're seeing all this offensive moving, evolving forward, but not so much the defensive side, because some of these guys have a hard time keeping up with that. I think Heupel coming into UT, that spread type thing of keeping that good quarterback of the whole thing, and those defensive backs just not getting worn out, because you got track stars out on the ends that are running 40s, 5 and 6 times, then all of a sudden that 7th time they pop it on you. So.
And that's the stuff that I feel like is, now listen, I mean, Oakland does a little bit of everything, and they are a problem. I don't know, I was at Ravenwood game planning for them. There's no one that's more difficult to game plan than for those guys. But, I feel like for me, outside of a group like that, asking kids to consistently tackle in space, get lined up, get the call, and do that over and over and over again is the most difficult thing to do. And what we've kind of seen from a defensive standpoint is when all things are equal, when two teams are equal, it's really, really hard to run power down the field 10 times and score. You've got to develop explosive type plays, and we feel like the best way to do that is to tempo and to put the ball into space. And then we've got to be intentional about taking shots down the field too. That was the one mandate I had for the offensive coordinator is, listen, dude, we don't always have to stay on track with the down and distance. We don't always need to make it 2nd and 7 or 2nd and 6. Like, there's going to be times we need to take some chances and push the ball down the field. And that's what they've been doing at Westview for a long time. And so you got to take chances, because those 14 play drives are really difficult to come by, and we got to find ways to manufacture some of those 2 and 3 play drives throughout a game. And so we just feel like that's the best way to do it.
Thanks for being with us this morning,
Absolutely,
Coach.
man. It's been a blast.
Hey, God bless you as an educator and a coach, and your effort with our kids.
Hey, appreciate it. Have me back anytime, man.
Can I add one thing in? I found this out during one of the many rain delays that we had during spring fling. Todd Harris likes to, he's assistant principal at Stewarts Creek. He likes to keep us updated on things. And, of course, we wrap up just before midnight. And, it's our last broadcast, which we did 159 high school events last year on the air. He said, oh, by the way, we're going to do this and this and this for the football game with Rockvale, because it's going to fall on I can't remember what night it was.
It's on 9/11.
9/11. Okay.
Sure.
That's right. It's on that night. But they're going to have flyovers and all that kind of stuff. And
those are all rumors right now.
Yeah.
Is it at Creek or
at Creek? It'll be a